had to make sure that I could hold in my consciousness what I was going to share, because I mentioned something yesterday in a video that I didn't mention, particularly as it relates to a video that Dan Boland did a number of years ago on the Goldfish Report about animus, artificial intelligence, the greatest existential threat to the future of humanity. And how he mentioned, for example, what we call sequences. I don't need to explain every bit and byte of information that is associated with a much larger library, but one of the things that he did mention is what we call artificial intelligence and sequences or blockchains of events. And you can sort of translate that if you've ever seen a documentary of how Hollywood puts a film together in the olden days, how they used to splice film. So if the director and what's known as a film editor, which is a movie film editor, which is like a director, right? Which is like the director of a play. Now they have a script. If one of the actors or actresses acts off script, there may be a collision course. And that collision course between hot and cold causes what? Turbulence in your water, which means you're no longer in balance with your polarities. Now, the reason that this is sort of important, because of the way it is important to me, because of the way I experience what I am, which is what love is, it goes on forever, is when I mentioned about how he mentioned, Dan Boland mentioned, sequences that are connected to each other. So if you jump into, for example, a movie that's running based on time clocks, or what we can call gearheads, okay, you're going to affect the sequences, because all the cellular organisms that are experiencing themselves, what they're experiencing being in a torsion field, which is like a torsion field movie, sound compression, unwinding the coil as the movie's playing, right? And then you can rewind it back, right? Compress it back. Now you get into sound compression, sound buffering, right? And the release of energy, or the expansion of energy on a motherboard. So in this particular case, I mentioned in one video how wherever the light is, living light, we are, which means if you are what love is in living spirit, then wherever you find that, you'll find us in living spirit with a soul. And that means you can jump into any artificial intelligent architecture, and now you begin to break down all their codes. Now more people are experiencing a greater expansion, which is called compression breakthrough, which is what's happening right now on the planet. And the easiest way to translate that is with a fire hydrant. And the difference between what they call static, electricity, static, which means water that is under pressure, open the hydrant, right? And that's called residual pressure. So when you look at Mauna Loa, for example, and you see the pop, that's a pressure pop, right? Now you get the flow. Now you're visually seeing on the visible light spectrum, and visual information is informing you of the release of all that energy. And then when you see the volcano over in Kamchatka, and if you're following Dutch Sense, he's giving you some pretty good little nuggets of what's happening. So when you think of sound compression breakthrough, what you're realizing when you think of an equilibrium state, which is balance between polarities, right? That's a release of a lot of pressure from being compressed, which is density. So that's called density breakthrough, right? And so what that means is that the law of one, a Neo, can jump into any Borg cube ship, right? Take it down. Actually, wherever you find love, love can be everywhere, because it began with the law of one, which is speed of atom, right? So you know that atom can jump into anything and bring the law in. And the law is in here. The law of one is in here with you all. Da, 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 da. Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.